Hi, my name is Helen Desbois. I'm originally from Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm an actress, singer, and radio DJ. And this is my story.
You don't strike me as part of this community.
Oh, my husband is. It's taken some adjusting from Four Ways, but it's nice. At the moment, though...
Yeah. I mean, it's really sad what happened to Willem. I mean, him being orphaned and all of that.
Yeah. I'm trying hard to forget what a problem child he is.
You know what? I've got an adolescent boy, and they're all difficult.
Yeah, but then you get problem children. Willem is one. Adriaan really saw the worst of that.
I moved to Dublin because my husband got offered a job. He's in the aviation industry, and it's a massive hub of aviation in Dublin. And he was offered a job, and it was an offer that he couldn't refuse. Dublin has been amazing. And of course, in the beginning, it's been quite difficult to adjust. But I think that's moving from any country to any country. You know, it's difficult to sort of make a place feel like home. But I really, really love living here. The people are really friendly. You can have a conversation with anybody, anywhere. And you get to meet people very, very easily here. And there's very much a community. I also have a dog, which is quite handy because I'm out walking the dog regularly, and I've met people through walking my dog. And there's a buzzing social life if you're into that, you know, and there are events, and they're pretty much open to anyone. You know, there are the event sites, Eventbrite and that kind of thing. So pretty much 10 days after I got here, I actually went to an event called Bloggers Brunch because I had a blog in South Africa, and I thought, oh, let me go and check it out. And I met the people who are now like my best friends. Funnily enough, most of them aren't actually Irish. That shows how many immigrants there are in the country. So I've got friends from all over the world who live in Dublin. There are massive, massive differences between Johannesburg and Dublin. And I mean, Dublin is a bustling city, and I suppose it is the big smoke as far as Ireland goes. But Johannesburg really is the big smoke. It is fast-paced, and there's so much happening there. Not to say there isn't stuff happening here, but it's just a different energy. But I also think, you know, Africa has a different energy. All countries do. So there's definitely kind of a tangible difference between the two places. The thing that freaks me out about Ireland and Dublin, and it really is a comparison though between here and Johannesburg and South Africa, is that because it's smaller, there's less of everything. So when I first got here, I found it very frustrating. I mean, we were looking for a car, and we were kind of battling to find what we wanted. And just things like that, you have to look further, and you have to really search for things because they're not everywhere. You know, in Johannesburg, you've got 100 choices, and here maybe you've got like 5. Then you've got to look for them. In South Africa, I was in the entertainment industry. I have been for all my life in many facets of it, as an actress and as a singer, a recording artist, a radio DJ. I was a blogger. I was everything, and things were actually going really well for me there. And then my husband said, we're moving to Dublin. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Because, you know, it's a completely different fish pond. You know, Johannesburg is one place, and Dublin is a completely different place. So it's been, I think, more of a challenge for me than my husband, he had a job, so he just stepped in and started doing his job. I've basically had to start from scratch. Of course, I still have the experience in all the different areas that I take part in, but I really had to start from scratch, reach out to people, make connections, and get my name out there. So it took a little while to really get my foot in the door in Dublin, and things were just getting going, and then COVID hit. But I'm getting back on track now.
Girl, she is full of fun. I've just begun. I will never belong to you. Said I don't wanna be a wind-up.
COVID has had a massive effect on every industry. The entertainment industry has taken quite a big knock, obviously, especially live performance and that kind of thing. Luckily, with my radio gig, I'm actually on Dublin City FM. And even with lockdown, I have the technology to be able to record at home. So I was still able to conduct interviews and put content out on air. Everything else got cancelled. I was booked for a few films and a few other things were happening, and obviously that all got stopped. But things are picking up again, so I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get my foot back in the door. In South Africa, I was on a radio station, quite a big radio station in Johannesburg, where I was the co-host of a breakfast show. So I was up at 4:30 every morning, going to work, doing the breakfast show from 6 a.m. to 9, and then I had everything else. Then coming to Dublin, obviously I'm completely unknown, so I just had to put my feelers out. And community radio is huge. I mean, all over the world. Sometimes those stations can be even bigger and better than the big ones. But Dublin City FM were interested, and I was interested in them, and they offered me a slot. It's once a week, which is fine for now. So on a Tuesday morning from 10 to 11, I present with the co-host a show called Good Morning Dublin. And we interview, it's very much talk radio, and we interview businesses and people in Dublin or anything of interest. I love the nightlife in Dublin, and there's so much variety in places to go and eat and places to go and drink. Well, there was before COVID. I'm sure we'll get going again soon. But also, of course, the music industry is huge, and there's loads of gigs, all different sizes. You can go, I mean, it actually blew my mind when I first started featuring content, because my blog is a showbiz blog. And I managed to, hook up with some PR people, and they'd send me information, and it was mind blowing. It would be Ariana Grande is here 1 week, then it's the Counting Crows, then it's this person, and it's mind blowing that in 1 week there could be 5 massive superstars performing in Dublin. Whereas in South Africa, you would have a massive concert maybe once a month, maybe like twice at a push. But also theatre. Theatre is very close to my heart, and there's just so much on offer. It's fantastic. The Irish music is, it's so distinctive, and I love, whenever people come to visit me, I always take them for a little walk around Dublin City and go to Temple Bar, or take them to a bar where there is some folk music. But there's also a massive scene of kind of indie artists and rock and pop, and there's some incredible artists that come out of Ireland. I think, coming from South Africa, it's a very different life here. And there are pros and cons to every place you live. But I think, coming from a city like Johannesburg to a city like Dublin, the thing that kind of strikes you the most is kind of the organization of things. It's on a smaller scale, so it's easier to manage things. It's kind of run possibly in a better manner as well. Things get done. The people obey the rules of the road, which was mind blowing, because in Africa generally people just drive. So there's that. But I didn't find it a massive culture shock, because I was actually born in England originally, and there's similarities between the United Kingdom and Ireland. So it wasn't such a big shock for me. Everybody always asks me about the weather. They say, oh, but how can you leave Johannesburg and South Africa's beautiful weather, and there you are, and it's raining and cold? And I said, it doesn't really bother me. It honestly doesn't bother me. I miss my people. Obviously, with technology these days, it's so easy to keep in touch with people and video call and Zoom and do whatever you need to do. But there are people that were part of my life that I can't do that with. The everyday people that I would see in South Africa, and it's such a South African thing. There are the car guards who look after the car, and they were my friends. There are the people at the traffic lights who I used to maybe give some money to, and I knew everybody. I knew all of them. The ladies at the supermarket who would work at the bread counter, those people who you wouldn't have contact with. I miss those people. There's a restaurant in Bray, and now I can't remember the name of it. You've caught me off guard, but it's run by a South African lady, but she's been here for about 20 years. And somebody told me they'd heard my accent. That's another thing, you hear an accent, and if you know the accent, then people will go, you're South African. Most of the Irish people think I'm Australian, but that's okay. So I heard this person said, you're South African, and they told me that this lady has got, it's actually called Creole food, but she also has South African food. And I went there, and there's a South African dish. Well, it's like a snack. It's called boerewors, and I had a boerewors roll in Bray, and that was amazing. Massive community of South Africans here, and there's actually a Facebook group, and it's amazing how people can support each other and help each other and advise each other as well. If you're looking for something, if you need advice on anything, you can go onto that group and you can ask them. But I've bumped into a bunch of South Africans just walking around. Last year we went to Kilkenny and Cork. It was so amazing to have a change of scenery and go and explore a little bit. And everywhere is so different. That's what I find about Ireland. Even if you drive for 45 minutes, you can find these little gems and places that you could only dream of. I mean, even just within the surrounds of Dublin, you can find a castle, you can find a mountain, you can find a waterfall. It's really amazing. We've actually got a trip planned soon, a staycation, because we can't go anywhere, and we're heading off to Donegal and Galway. The thing that is tripping me up right now is, because of what I do, my accent is fine. Like for the radio now, my accent is fine. But for the acting stuff, I need to actually work on an Irish accent for me to be able to get the work that I want to get. So I wouldn't say that's discrimination, because I'm in Ireland, you know, I've got to do what they want. So there isn't discrimination in that sort of vein. I did one film where I was supposed to, I've actually been doing a British accent for some of the films. I say to them, I can do a British accent. This is how they talk in South Africa. It's very flat and it's very like a little bit deep in the voice. And this is how the South Africans talk. It's like that. Thing is, I was actually born in Yorkshire, which is up north. And they talk up north. They talk like that up north. But my accent that I use is very much more like a kind of a London accent. So what time are you going to come and pick me up then? Need to work on that. Here in Ireland, there's a massive short film industry, and a lot of the stuff comes through the colleges, but there's also a lot of production houses. And I was actually astonished, because in South Africa, there's a sprinkling of them, and they do them for film festivals and that kind of thing. But I hadn't encountered so many short films. And they're shooting them all the time. So I've been lucky enough to be involved in a couple of student films and a couple of other ones as well. It's completely different to me, because in South Africa, I was kind of known. So a lot of my work, I would just get called and get a job. You know, I wouldn't have to go and audition, or I wouldn't have to go and look for the work, really. Whereas here, I'm still trying to get known and get my face out there. But no, I mean, it's as professional there as it is here, you know, that they run like clockwork. The sets are incredible on both sides. Well, I've released a few songs in South Africa. I actually been talking to somebody here. There's a singer that I might do a collaboration with soon as things kind of calm down and we can get into a proper studio. But yeah, I've released a few songs. I'm on iTunes and Spotify and that kind of thing.
Second, I am eating from your hand. I know that we'll never be perfect, so could you make me understand? Happiness needs pain, like the ground needs rain, and fire breathes flame like I need you. Victory needs a fight, like the dark bleeds light, and wrong craves right like I need you. I know how to push your buttons.
They really need to do their research as far as, you know, finding accommodation and that kind of thing goes, especially, you know, to move here. Yeah, we'd sort of heard rumors that there's a shortage of rentals and that kind of thing. And we were like, oh, I'm sure we'll find somewhere. And we were very lucky that we did, but literally it was a miracle that we found somewhere as quickly as we did. So I would say that they definitely need to do some research beforehand. And also just to point out to people that Dublin is an expensive city, you know, it's right up there on the list of expensive places to live. So they need to really do their research into that as well, you know, and decide if they want to live rurally or maybe move somewhere else to Cork or Galway or one of the other places. But yeah, and then I guess make sure that you have every type of coat because you can change them in one day. I'm Helen Desbois, and that was
So
my story.
wrap your arms, need you. So wrap